Hello, this is Merrily Milmoe of Super Soul Solutions, and it is July 24th, 2017. I am pleased to be interviewing Sean Bond, who could be one of James Bond's own legitimate kids, especially considering what you do, right? You promise you're not?
Well, no, I'm not his, unless... Well,
Don't go there. Don't go there.
The real name, I didn't change it or anything. Real family lineage.
Okay. So the audio is a little tricky, so try and stay safe. So with a name like that and your strong psychic abilities, you must have some strong Irish and American Indian genetics, right? Right.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you for being here, Sean, and for all you do. You are a young man in terms of years and obviously a very, very old soul in lifetimes who is becoming more and more busy as a multidimensional tracker and healer. And there are only a few individuals I have met who are able to accurately read the Akashic records, which you do, including past lives, DNA records, and spirit light body wisdom, as well as something I'm excited about is unlocking our potentials and abilities that lie dormant. So I want to thank you so much for helping all of us wake up faster. And many of us are, quote, awakening. Even the mainstream magazine, I don't know if you saw it, Scientific America, a couple of months ago, had on the front cover, Do We Live in a Multiverse? Which is pretty exciting. So, can you describe what is meant by the word awakening to start off with? Because we hear many intuitives say this is a time of awakening.
Okay. So, as I put the awakening in terms of there are varying degrees of points of awakening to systems of truth, reality, yourself, identity, memory, what's going on, the challenges, the light, the dark, the secrets, the uncovering of the hidden and the esoteric, the unveiling of truth. Lot is culminating with that, as well as certain activations of perception in the multidimensionality of each consciousness that is perceiving a local bubble of reality.
A local bubble?
Huh?
You said a local bubble? It blurred a little bit.
Yeah, a local bubble of reality that's like stitched together with an aggregate bubble of reality where they're all agreeing to certain rules and it's crashing together, and they're also agreeing to the ancestral lineage of what they believed and set up in reality rules, and then that's passed down and resolved. And back to the awakening because I'm confused.
Yeah.
Like a lot of aspects of this earth having a consciousness and going through certain types of dramas of all the culminating beings and perceptions that she's holding space for in microcosmic life, and what she and the beings that are working with her in unity, as well as the adversaries, know in timeline perception that there is a point of great culmination on opportunity and influence that has culminated throughout millions of years for certain points such as this would be like a great dream time awakening that then goes in down to lower layers of experience, which is like hardest things to manifest is on this timeline because it's much easier in causation. Yeah. And the ideas flowing down and everything getting together, and that's why we're mastering manifestation here. While everything is like, there's so many different things. I'm trying to use a wider range of vocabulary. Different types of things happening. So it is seen as a point of choice for the various populations that will all affect each other in how we all mesh together in consciousness interaction and are changed as if you were to go through a great deal of sickness and you decided to heal yourself, and then you learned how to change the entire eminence of frequency of your body and change the bacteria and the viruses and illnesses inside you and reprogram them towards a more harmonic state of being. This is what the Earth is doing. She is also awakening certain strategic beings on the planet that will then help bring more and more of an awakening in the individuals of this planet, and then get that flowing more and more as like they grow faster. Everything meshes together nicely, and any system of resistance, limitation, or domination and control that would be the adversary is disempowered from what they're inevitably trying to do and delay this event, as others are trying to bring it closer. And so prophecies I don't particularly go for we'll have a certain theme, and especially there's an advanced science to doing prophecies that if you're doing them well, you know that the future is always changing, and as soon as you become aware of the future, you can change it. There are things set in stone that will be based on habit patterns of the consciousnesses that are interacting with them, and things that are like set on needed to happen for multiple influences that would want to keep that solid. And then there's multiple timelines that branch off for all experiences to be had, and there is a certain influence which each consciousness that interacts with the future progression of states of reality in and out of through entropy, the constant changing fluid forward motion of time as we perceive it, and how I'm going to try.
Yeah.
I try not to get too complicated.
I know it's so much. Okay.
I'm deviating, awakening.
That's okay. And welcome to multidimensional, right? So you're describing a lot of our multidimensional stuff. Now, this is really simplistic, but for our listeners, would it be like, okay, we are part of Source, we have a Source connection, and then an offshoot or an aspect of that, or fractal of that, is our higher self, so to speak, and then the higher self chooses to divide into different what we call soul shards or aspects, one of which can be Sean or Merrily, who comes down all the way to third, fourth density, where we are now, for greater exploration in the physical, right? So what would you add to that in terms of, are we doing all of that for evolutionary potential?
Yes. All of it's about expansion of experience so that more can be learned from, more that can be discovered, known. It's like, besides the oldness of this universe and how far back each soul goes into creation, a lot of spirits have migrated here from other universes, so there are older universes, and so you can see.
I love the plane sounds in the background. That fits you so well. I'm like, you're so confused. Anyway. Okay.
Yeah, so like in wherever point of origin they have for their spirit tree, that like you can see as a stream of light, for the connection between all parts and pieces and individualized experiences, but that are still connected to the whole of that collective, going back to its source point of origin in whatever universe, sometimes like the first universe, whatever. And then that, in its migration and expansion of worlds, similar to the structure of reality that we have here, though it has many layers to it, and reality functions and rules that can be experienced. There, like universes that hold space for entire aggregate of bandwidths of energy that then can go down to galaxies and galactic clusters, galaxies, star clusters, star systems, and stars, and their solar system and different. And then it goes down to realms that are holded in space of they are claiming territory over for their reality bubble rules, and then bandwidths of dimensions that also.
Okay.
All that holds the expression of time in their own local bubble of reality that can then have a time stream that has timelines for as much expansional experience as possible. So, I know it's good, it's fine that we get confused in the vocabulary of how to describe these and use them. There are infinite dimensions and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I'm trying to keep it as simple as we can, and I know that the simplicity is not doing it, and I know that you're an amazing tracker in all these realms, but I just don't want to overwhelm people, so I'm trying to keep it really simple.
So there's an infiniteness to it all, that we all keep growing how many there are. There's also need to be remembered there's a point of origin for these coming into existence. So it can be also traced back like that.
Yeah.
So to overwhelm you.
Okay. So let's backtrack a little bit, because I'd like to find out more about you personally, since you're such a unique being. So I would love to learn more about your life and your birth and your growing up. Were you this aware in the womb? And did you manage to maintain your full memory when most of us forget? Let's start there.
Okay, so when you're in the womb, usually you'll be in a mind of dreams state with your mother and Earth Mother and collectives that you're working with, because you're connected to the infinite part of your spirit. And you're auditing things that you'll be expecting and making a predictive model or multiple predictive models for your game plan for the future life that you have. So I was doing that, but is there a clear memory transition from that? No, I was going through the great forgetting like most people here in the Earth Canal. As soon as you leave that bubble of space that's held, you get a memory wipe that is also intricate with the system of domination control in keeping us from remembering who we are. Archonic satellites put over the natural incarnating grid of Earth to make predictive models for powerful beings.
And that's why we don't remember, most people don't remember anything about this, and then afterwards. So you managed to keep yours. Your phone.
No, I got a memory wipe, and I was a C-section, which is even more brain scrambling because I didn't have the last bits of time with the dream space and all that stuff. So I had like weird scenarios where I was contracted to come in how I'd express it, a way that I can show anyone can do it, even no matter how suppressed you've gotten. You can heal yourself and become empowered and get out of it, learn how to heal that unique state of wound or whatever you because I'm applying to the multiple things that could be experienced, and then learn how to heal that in yourself, and then learn how to heal that in others. Everything can be healed, but and
that's part of what you guide and teach, right? Now, what was your growing up like after that? Like, were your parents conscious? Were they average like most? Were they partially asleep? Did you just keep your knowingness to yourself? How did that go?
So, I always had like a feeling state inside me, and like all this stuff coming to me in dreams and things that I was not sure what it was because of the memory wipe, so I was like any normal kid growing up, like, oh, okay, let's get all this like coming to me. What is going on here? So most of it, I was growing up in a family that was suppressed themselves and limited and carried on programs of imposed impotence and limitation on what they could do and be this their lifetimes. And so that was, despite them being good for the most part in doing what they think is best and what to deal with what is given them at the time, which I respect them for fully bringing me this world, but they don't really know what I do or
yes. Well,
how a way to bridge that, because they've had it also taken out of them by the system.
Yeah.
I mean, they're grown.
So has that been really lonely? Like, I mean, it has to be lonely because you are so expansive that it's hard to meet others. So have you met so far many other multidimensionals, like whatever label you want to put, indigos, platinums, I think all the ADHD, Asperger's, autistic, they're all uniquely wired depending on where they're accessing from. So have you met many of them, and are you able to relate or somewhat to them?
I used to not find almost anyone, and now I'm finding them truckloads all the time, and powerful people, so I'm feeling happy, and similar experiences to me, so it's like, oh yeah, I've had that, holy crap.
Now, do you find them is part of this, physical, pragmatic finding you, or are you connecting with them telepathically? Because I know you're very telepathic, or all of it.
Growing up, I didn't have much access to anyone like me, didn't have anyone in the family that was more spiritual than what any church was telling them. And then, so I had to seek it all by myself and go inward. And then I found out about like spiritual entourage, spirit teachers, guys here in the Sentinels, and I started talking to my ancestors and practicing telepathy and learning the user manual of the DNA technology and beyond. Growing up now, they're finding me, I'm finding them, synchronistic events that bring us together, just like a whim of me wanting to go somewhere and then finding a really unique person that we strike up a conversation. Wow, this is cool. There are beacons in people and influence from your higher self based on those two people's higher self communicating, like, hey, let's see if we can get each other to meet up today. I know we tried a little bit before, but hey, there's some I feel good about this, and then, and that can eventually broaden, especially when you're in alignment with the will of your higher self, and know that it is like the version of you that is the hilltop view, and don't have things impeding the connections. There are things that want to, and so
you
what was the last part of that?
Completely self-referential, really. I mean, in terms of, one of the things I find from so many clients and people, because of, I'm sure in past lives, or what I call simultaneous lives, and being killed for it, is that so many, and I mean over 1,000 people have told me, well, Merrily, you're the only one I'll talk to about this, because I believe the fear is such a ingrained programming for ostracism, and to be laughed at, and to be called crazy, and to invalidate all that stuff, that most people are still giving into that to the point where they haven't even shared with their intimate others. So it's now time. I love seeing old kids like you come in, and it's going to be more and more and more, so I'm happy to hear that for you, because I know how hard that is to often be the only one holding all of that. So you also have the gift of accessing a client's individual DNA technology, what you call higher functions and operating systems. Now, why is this helpful for people to learn more about this and access it themselves? Why is that helpful? for those that don't know.
Which type of operating system?
Like, well, you actually access DNA technology, right? And higher functions, and so let's talk about that, because I have a passion of that.
So, like, that's, like, if you were to think it's advantageous to work with, because it's the difference between getting, let me see if I can make a metaphor. I'm trying to combine things.
I know.
But, like, it's kind of like getting a computer and not knowing how to turn it on, and it either just being a paperweight that's useless to you, or it being a very advanced piece of equipment that can help your life tremendously. So it's like that. So either you can use your body and just see it as a paperweight, and it's just something to get around as a vehicle. In the lower axis of technology will still work, but if you get it up and working in multiple different aspects and realize there's almost no limit to what you can become in control of in your body, and be able to heal yourself, make yourself stronger, more energetic, more endurance, happier, smarter. IQ isn't a permanent thing. You can change it. Regenerate. There's some very advanced technologies that depends on the DNA lineage, and you can go into each DNA lineage and start activating residual memories, skill sets, abilities, and learn more about who you are.
Now, you not only share this with your clients by you tracking it in them, but you also teach them how to do that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, of course, many of these abilities that are our birthrights that have been dormant for a variety of reasons are things like telepathy, bilocation, instantaneous healing, telekinesis, consciousness, time travel, remote viewing, psychic surgery, age regression, all those things. So those are things that you help bring online for people, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a mystery school internally into themselves, where they're learning the to-do list, the requirements, the man's place responsibility, and what they have to do to get to the point that they want and imagine and drive their life to be. And I can set it up so that they can go on that journey and do the requirements, and then are able to manifest that in their end goal. Especially if it's less harder to manifest problem, those are like easy and like, wow, this really works. And those are like the marker stones in your path to getting to the bigger abilities that you can claim, which do take a lot. But like, if you have all these goals in between, you don't get discouraged and like influenced to get off the journey.
Right. So you being a multidimensional healer, and you can basically track back to the point of origin of any health or situation challenge, correct? Mm-hmm. That's one of the things you do. So could you possibly give, like, you could take any physical condition or anything, give just a somewhat brief example of a client and the steps you would do to do that, just so people have a sense for contacting you.
Well, I like your shirt, by the way. I didn't see what you got.
Thank you.
It is a mystery school. Okay, so, can you remind me what
Yeah. So basically, your ability as a healer is multidimensional, and you track back to
healing. I remember.
Right, of the health issues. So just give us an example. Go ahead.
In anywhere on your body, or things that you've experienced?
Anywhere that would relate to people, so that they can get a sense of, if they contact you, how they could use that for any physical issue for themselves.
Sure. Do you have anything with you, like, of anything that's happened in the last week, or a thing that you're feeling now, where there's like maybe a pressure or pain that we can release? I'm really good at releasing pain, or things having to do If it's an illness, we can go into it, like I can easily tune into it now. If you're wanting to like go into specific types of illnesses,
well, I don't want so much to it with me privately, just kind of the steps briefly that you would take someone through.
Okay, so I tune into the body of what the person was wanting to heal. Like, let's see. What can we say? What's one good thing that, like, a lot of people struggle with?
Neck pain, hip pain, knee pain.
Okay, we can do that too. I was thinking of illnesses, but yeah, like, we can do like
whatever.
Yeah. So if it's like pain, you would want to start not jumping to right to a conclusion of, oh, I was just working out, or I've been straining my back all day, because these things will, like, there will be certain types of influence and programming that will take an excuse of something being strained and then amplify it a lot, like, and then make it worse, and it's like, wow, why is this still hurting? Like, or if I've used this before, but like, if you stubbed your toe and like it's still hurting towards the end of the day, it's amplified like 80%. Something's hiding behind that as an excuse so that you don't track it back. So you can resolve it and get rid of the pain almost instantaneously, or at least whittle it down to nothing. And you can make operating systems for that. But I would track back by I'd also call it diagnostics, where you can tune into the pain as like your vehicle, and your dashboard is like, it has indicators on it of like, oh, there's something wrong with the engine or this part or something. It's kind of like that. So each one of those pains or indicators, feeling states, emotions, or pressures or traumas can be indicators based on varying degrees. And you can tune into that as information. You ask like your subconscious to list all the things that are bleeding over by that problem. You'll like tune into them, narrow it down. I also teach how to do that very quickly. Then go into setting it up so you can start resolving each one in one. Like, what does it have to, like, your training, you'd be training your translation skill set of the infinite information that you're picking up from your body, from your environment, as well as programs from your light of your entire being that I call the light body, because it's like in infrared and ultraviolet and all these different spectrums. It's your spirit, and then expanded outward with the packets of information memory of what I call your soul, or the matrix of energy that is you. Then so I'm off tracking again. Diagnostics. So then I'd go into, okay, is it just a physical problem, like, your stomach's hurting, like a lot of pain, maybe it's candida or infectious fungus, or maybe there's a greater causation to it that overlays with mental problems, emotional, or things that are inherited from your DNA lineage, or your light body, which is your spirit in past lives, past, present, and future, and then, or your multidimensional technology, such as, there's a part and piece of you from this lifetime that has been stolen, and it's bleeding over pain, and it can go out from that in different types of scenarios. So those are like the most.
So many things that are combined. Now you mentioned bodies, and I know some of your clients and listeners are well aware of this, but just for the terms, someone has different bodies, quote unquote, and so we have the physical body, and then we have finer and finer and finer, so then we have like astral, right? So do you want to like explain those a little bit? You were saying the light body is the spirit, right?
Yeah, so like how you see energy and the source of origin from oneness becomes duality, the source expanding itself in the universe and all expressions of energy, emotion, experience, and consciousness. So that has a spectrum that you can see as being combined with the electromagnetic spectrum, but also having all this interworkingness of connection that has yet to be very well systematically put together on this planet, but can be if you see it as all coming from one. And then having different octaves in that system and ways to alchemize it into a different form of energy or a different speed, all that. But like,
and a lot of that is done through intent. Is it done through intent? What is
to be able to you can transmute energy. You sometimes do it all the time. Organs are set to transmute energy. But you can become more control over it with knowledge, with intention, with focus, with the to-do list of requirements with that energy, because it has a consciousness. It has, oh, I want this person to work with me, I don't want this person to work with me, to flow with me. There's like a to-do list of things to learn how to influence energy. But so back with the light body thing, you can see all that as light as well. It's the same thing as energy and all these different expressions, so you can then categorize them into different systems of energy and make that their own technology, such as the physical, the mental, the etheric. I call these the bodies, as like it's the most used hot topic term, so that's why I'm using it. So it's easy to search for. But it's a spectrum of energy. You will have 0 points of creation in your field of consciousness, and that will emanate outward in streams of light that link up with your electromagnetic field, ends of your electromagnetic field, and magnetize wormholes. And that will have a main hub computer system that overlays with your body and then extends outward, as well as you can send to non-local places. You can then, like categorize them all as like light body, the emotional body, mental body, etheric body, astral body, dreaming body, different types of elemental bodies, or sometimes you could better categorize them as operating systems. So it depends.
Okay.
And then make that a technology, categorize it, file it, make a system to work with it, what needs to get better, get rid of blockages and all that stuff.
And because you're a tech guy, you use that language a lot in organization, right, to organize and do the healing structure. Okay, now, it's just vast. It's just amazing that you can track and keep track of all of this. It's amazing. Now, you mentioned earlier spiritual entourage, people's spiritual entourage. So can you elaborate on that? Are we talking ancestor guides? But there's much more to that, right?
Mm-hmm. Beings you surround yourself with that are either, you could also then degrade in like your positive, negative, and neutral spiritual entourage of observation and team, guides, guards, and seminoles, elementals, dragons, angelics. It can even be a haunting scenario, though, like that likely wouldn't be what you're asking for, and is like a dominating situation. And there's focal points of interaction on your body and around your body for these beings that want to work with you in the collective, for the benefit of your timeline as an anchor for them and your higher self in activity in this reality, as well as many other realities, that they have a chess move and theme for what they're trying to manifest here, both positive, negative, and neutral.
Now, you mentioned timelines, and that might be a new term for some people also. So, and there's something called timeline wars that we've been on, but we more or less solidified to one timeline? I know we were playing with 3 or 4, and is there actually an infinite number of timelines?
So yeah, so this would be the graduation timeline for the actualization of all chess moves that have been going on through the timeline wars for not just this timeline, not just this realm, but like multiple others. and their interaction with the rest of the universe.
And that's been going on hundreds of thousands of years, right?
Right. So it's a big chess move game for what manifests here with all the leapfrogging backwards and forwards in time and perceptions of timelines and how that technology works, and then making influence backwards and forwards in time to create an algorithm of what they are trying to manifest in the equation, what it takes, versus also what they're coming up against in beings that have opposition to what they're trying to manifest. And then that playing out in like a showing your hands kind of card game kind of thing, and what the limit of cards they have, and what we can do to actualize and make a more positive timeline than would have been possible before, and be unpredictable, so that no predictive model takes over and then out chess moves. There are infinite timelines as they're constantly being created to allow for all experiences, so all experiences can be learned from. Some of the reason for them is so that like they can be deviated from this timeline, so that this timeline doesn't need to experience them, but they're learned from, like a catastrophe or apocalypse kind of timeline. They'll have those, so they can learn from them, and you'll have existences there simultaneously that you will be doing to learn from. So
right. It gets back to the whole multidimensional self and how unaware we are, most people are still, of that myriad amount of multidimensionality they have, of being on other timelines simultaneously and everything else. Okay, so people I know have felt very disconnected from Source. Our higher self and Earth Mother, what is it that gets in the way? I mean, so many things, everything I'm sure that you've already talked about gets in the way. So you also track that, and you remove negative energies from people, and you fortify their energetic bodies, and you can find what is in the way, because when I've asked people, what do you want the most of anything in life, a lot of times they'll say clarity, or they'll say connection or memory, or knowing who I really am, all those kind of things. So you assist with that, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, there's many ways to do that. Not just the connection to Source, your higher self, guides, telepathic beings that want to communicate with you, soul family, your team. Lots. So like Source, very important. You would access to the direct connection to Source in your heart in the 0 point. And
wait, stop there for 1 second, because a lot of people, if I'm getting a little feedback right now, a lot of people won't know what 0 point means.
Okay. 0 point is like the source point of a thing coming into existence, a timeline, an object, a person, consciousness. It's like the point of creation, and that would be an access point that is very targeted by the dark, so I suggest the light use it.
And that access point is found in everyone's heart?
Yeah, and it's like the point of creation where this overlays with where the spark of light, that would be the light body coming into the cells dividing into the fetus, and that would be becoming a heart that then outstretches the fetus and the body and the brain coming out of that. And the heart-brain interlinking. The heart is a very advanced technology. But your Source interacts through not just your heart, but pretty much the entireness of the reality. So it's kind of impossible to be not connected to the Source. So it has varying degrees of trust, clearance, and how you are able to operate with it, that you can progress in to the point where you're able to communicate and become a Source oracle. And I do teach that, and how beings can live that, and it's pretty empowering, like being an infinite being, so it's great. I do suggest it. There's a to-do list and a man's place responsibility, and coming into full alignment with source and natural law is part of that.
Okay. That's a good explanation. So what are some of the most important principles or belief systems that people need to let go of to become more of what you were talking about, their infinite, multidimensional self?
Yeah. So, like, our belief system will project sources being outside of ourselves, and then focus our attention outside of ourselves. We want to go inward into the heart and connect to source. That'll be the best way to make it so it's the least hijackable, because there's lots of beings that are pretending to be the one above all, or whatever you want to call it. I'm not using source as a term because any other group is using it. I use it as a term because I've used creator, and there are lots of creators. We're all being trained to become our own creators. God, generator, operator, destroyer, I'm not too loving in that term. So, like, the source of all life and consciousness that is connected and is held by a consciousness that is experiencing everyone simultaneously, that has their own individual expression and living them vicariously without an intention of harming or interfering with their free will.
That's key. Like, one of the terms that I loved is, I don't know if it's your term or the Andrews, is reality creator beings. I like that combo, that we all are reality creator beings. And so what are the steps that one can do to manifest a more positive future freedom reality where we all are sovereign beings rather than existing still in this somewhat false matrix system? Of course, they can come to you. Go ahead.
Can you restate that real quick?
So, the full sovereign reality creator being is kind of the destiny, isn't it, for all of us? And so, can you share any key understandings that people could contemplate to allow that to happen easier, more physically and energetically?
So, like, the key to the difference between a person thinking they're in full sovereign free will control of themselves versus a person that is actualizing it and making sure it is happening, maintaining it, and doing all they can to prevent things that are constantly trying to bog down their free will subtly without them noticing, and then get them in ego to think that they are completely and are willing to check. So there's that, and then realizing there's ways to monitor.
Like, kind of a daily practice of checking. And you teach ways that people can check by applied kinesiology, muscle testing, and other things that you teach.
Yes. And going into that biofeedback, be able to monitor what's going on in your systems of, like, there are meters for your sovereignty and your free will and the different systems of your body and how much free will you have in the capacity of being the peak of the hierarchical order of the internal self, where you, as the I am presence, make all the experiential choices. And if anything is in competitions with you or suggesting otherwise, that needs to find remedy and resolve so that that can be brought back into a state of 100% sovereignty, or at least 99%, because it's kind of like a thing where you're kind of always pushing against it and pushing out further to help reclaim not just you this lifetime, but the sovereignty of your other selves that are also in their battle, because you are an outstretched being of consciousnesses and experience that need to be also looked on for possible bleed overs in things trying to target those lives that want to take their free will and then take the free will from the other versions of yourself, and then do that subtly and slowly, and then that manifests in your life by seeing the symptoms of your change in attitude, low emotional state, stress, anxiety, changes in your timeline not for the better, not the best programs in your body that are initiated, sickness, drama coming into your life. You got to also, besides your body, protect your reality bubble and things that enter into it or be driven in certain paths and choice points towards causing drama. And there's lots of ways you can correct that drama. But, you know,
You're an amazing bioengineer. A bio and energetic engineer. It's just, woo.
Thank you.
I just have this sense, you know, where you go to the movies and you see all the screens, that they're just moving like multidimensionally. That's how I feel you are. Just like have the sense of this whole game and mastering it. It's all amazing. You are also able to access Akashic records, which describe what those are for people and why it is useful for people to access those.
Okay. So I am coming into that as a mystery school into yourself. Everyone has the ability to do that. They will access it in varying points in no time, in bursts throughout their life, though most people that are accessing it usually are mainly tapping into the light body because there is a large degree of mental place responsibility for holding it up, because a lot of negative beings want to access it to gain information, and predators try to go after oracles. So but still being able to learn to access your light body memory and the different records that are held through your ancestors in your different lives is very important as part of that process, and learning how to read texts or information or messages or downloads and books in your internal libraries is also part of that process. And then a lot of so the Akashic, in how it's described, is like space itself, having the recorded data of all that's happened, and that even going into the different expressions of energy throughout it, and them having their own record, planets having their own record, people. It's like a thing you get at the end of your lifetime. Oh, here's your record of your time here, and it's accessible, it's recorded. It's not really that well manipulatable, but it can be hidden from certain perceivers. Everything is recorded there, and you have to be in sacred neutral observance of the information, not letting it change you, and have a balancing system for all these different systems at once to make sure that your information of what you're observing isn't being skewed, and you're not having a wanting for something to be true. You're wanting the truth itself and searching for that, no matter what it is. Rather
than to feed the ego or whatever.
Right. Yeah, and it's already previously brought in belief systems from your outside environment and trying to prove those.
Okay. So something positive and uplifting. I have always felt that humans have somewhat of the trump card, no pun intended. And one reason is that we are amazing hybrids, right, with DNA that has been spliced and very adaptable, spliced by many different species. I think even Crick and Watson, who discovered kind of the DNA genome, they didn't talk a lot about this because of fear of ostracism, but they did mention, I think, that there were 220 genes in the previously labeled junk DNA that are not related to anything found on Earth, right, per se, like a species found on Earth. So what I would love for you to talk a little bit about is why humans are so, not better than, but so unique, kind of why we chose to have these human suits as souls, and what we have to maybe look forward to. Like, what will be the kind of surprise to me? I'll just say this, that it's an internal game of integrating all the multiple species and so much of our multidimensionality into a synchronized, dynamic hold of sacred neutral. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, I'll try to remember all of it. I read some things. So If somebody wanted to go down this rabbit hole, essentially they would start by researching genetic anomalies, genetic whistleblowers and deep throats coming out with the secrets against the mainstream science's perception of like, oh, go along with our story, or you don't get tenure, you don't get funded, you lose credibility, we come after you because, like, powers. There is lots of discrepancies with their stuff. There's a lot of hidden anomalies. There's a lot of stuff that is not gone into or questioned. The things you search for is like chromosome 2, which is like things for evidence of genetic manipulation from various species, adding their genetics to our lineage through various means of lots of ways. There's lots of ways for genetic engineering, from less invasive modalities of energetic imprintation, seeds, light of biophoton emission encoding, such as the Russians are going into. Also the more slice and dice methods, which have been done. And anyway, our genetics is very linking to these other types of DNA technologies, because our species has been brought into that as a purpose, to being their own genetic libraries and carry that down and surviving with that libraries and keeping it going with it. There's a lot to that, but so you look for things like chromosome 2, it's like 2 chromosomes spliced together, ALU retrotransposable elements, which is very much indicating genetic manipulation. There's also people that, if you probably like look up key terms for like genetic whistleblower, or I mean, there's even the less like, oh, alien DNA, I could just type that in, or whatever. There are a lot of lineages on this planet that are older than this planet, as well as and some groups and factions that have compartmentalized their technology and don't want to share it, have the ability to scan DNA and read it at a very more intricate level than we're allowed to become aware of, and see that there are timestamps and dates on them, and that's carried down in a live memory that you don't have to look at carbon dating or anything, or worry about if it's degraded. You also look like there's some soft disclosures that go into reading the memory of DNA too. That's also a factor. It doesn't take much. If you can read light, you can read the biophotons of DNA, and you can then make a language for it and translate it. It's not as difficult as they'd like to make it seem.
Is this related to the concept of the light language?
Yeah, light
so
language.
A lot of multidimensionals all speak and sense and see. Like, do we have? Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm interrupting. So if they have mouths and they do speak with linguistic wave genetics and technology of vibration and sound waveforms, those sound waves can be used as a medium to carry light encoded information that can be downloaded into the perceiver. They're their technologies. A rapid pace in just speaking in a very bogged down linguistic such as English that has huge amounts of limitations and backwards think on it. And you can
especially when you're used to being telepathic like you are.
Yeah, and if you're wanting to telepathically use it as a way to amplify your mind-to-mind transfer of information, so that it unfolds in their mind as a thought form that they can translate or get direct in the other person's voice, which does need to be trained for and unblocked tremendously, because there's a lot of white noise, especially with humans, which is why it's easier to train with your soul family and source and earth. But eventually people will, light language can be used to heal, change the weather, lots of different reality programming, and it imprints in your field longer than most things if you were just to speak regular language.
Okay.
There are different ways to speak it, depending on the lineages and the technology in the soul family.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Now, you mentioned dream body access, and I talk to a lot of people who say they don't really remember their dreams. Is dream body the same as the astral body, or why don't they remember their dreams?
It's not quite the same thing as the astral body because you can define dream time and dream time beings and like the dream bodies that interact with those dream realms as being their own bubbles of reality that have. It's a layered system going upward from different technology. I'm trying to see. I realize I'm going into the scope of what I'm trying to describe. The difference between astral and dream time beings is that dream time beings don't have a need to function in the incarnating realms here. Astral would be like they have versions of themselves that are waiting to come into an incarnate experience or be on what the astral realms are doing, because it has different reality functions, bubbles within it, as well as Wild West concepts, and it can be overlaid and then go outward in bubbles besides planets, solar systems, and then galaxies, and beyond. So dream, like you can create a dream realm, you can dream into it, and you can be a multidimensional being that experiences those dream realms, but certain beings in those realms don't need to have an existence here. Hope that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. How many multi-dimensional beings? Now,
I didn't finish that full question.
Okay.
You want to start it?
And why don't people remember their dreams?
Yeah, exactly. So remembering your dreams has to do with the technology of your body, your dreaming body, and how it interacts with your physical technology and processors, like your organs, your intestines, your lower dantian, your gut brain will be the main processor of the dreaming body, and that's the health of your gut, and it's clearing out of negative information that's stored in it, and data and toxicity will be a big part of the blockages for the dream, as your dreaming body has an energetic system that retakes memory through it. So when your main hub dreaming body links to a non-local dreaming body that you send off to a non-local location like a dream realm to experience it, or you have dream realms internally or whatever, they will have information and energy that they take back with them to integrate into the main hub, and that will usually happen as you go from the sleep state to the infinite state, and you have to have a process where you integrate that well so you don't forget it really quickly. And
do you teach a process for that?
Absolutely.
Okay. So that makes sense, Sean, because a lot of people will tell me their dreams really change depending on what they eat and drink. You know, too, that you have your center there, so if you're toxic or having a lot of alcohol or have heavy things, it changes the quality of the dream. How many when you tune in, how many, I know we're all multi-dimensional in our true self, but how many are activated or awake on this planet right now, in now time?
Okay, I also remembered an earlier question with having to do with, do I meet other beings that are highly activated?
Yeah.
I do meet a lot of beings, more beings I meet physically, spiritually, that are very activated and powerful around the planet, even in other bubbles of reality, in inner Earth, or other dimensions, realms, etc., and they're all have a unique expression that has agendas and teams. Yes, lots of beings that are all around, that are protecting the planet, that are growing, that are communicating with the rest of their higher self, and then linking up with those other versions of yourself, and then using what they know and are empowered in that lifetime to heal others. And some of them have learned telepathy, and I have become aware of them, and some of them I've been practicing communication with, and especially like a lot of the humans have a hard time trouble with it, so I go slow and see what they can ping pong back to me and all this stuff, and they'll still retain the message so they can access it at any time. You have a database of all the telepathic text messages you've ever received. And there's a lot of powerful beings.
Wow, that's so fun. And more are becoming conscious of it slowly over time. Okay.
Yeah, and they affect everyone else by getting more powerful. So you want to work on yourself to get more powerful, and then you'll affect everyone else.
Right, which is the motive and the purpose, to change this reality into more positive. So, have you ever thought of providing, like many presidents, people who have a lot of people focused on them, entertainers, have higher energetic cleaners that fortress and strengthen their systems and clean other people's energies off of them? Have you ever thought of accepting people who pay you retainers to just do that when they feel like they may not have the skill level to do it themselves or too busy?
Sure, I've had that. There are a lot of, this is a reality that's very demanding, so I understand that completely. And I'll also do it in a way where, if there is a negative program of wanting to just go outside of yourself and let everyone else do it for you, then I will work on that too, so that they can work on empowering themselves in that multitasking function, so they're still able to do what they do physically, and then set up that growing state where they get better and better and better over time and can do it, find themselves doing it all at once. And if it's a celebrity or a politician, if they show respect to me and I respect them, the mutual beneficial co-creation and energy exchange and everything's fine. I can see who they are, so like.
Yeah.
Even
no hiding. There's no hiding.
But,
You're going in and out of loop. Okay, well that's good to know, because hey, you probably will have a lot of people signing on for that, because this is so advanced work for a lot of people. And but so Sean, before we close, because we're coming to the hour, is there any last thing you want for people to have as a takeaway to inspire them or remind them, positive reminder of who they are or anything?
I'm asking some savvy thing. I'm trying to do a combination of that and winging it. So we can dream the world that we want to see into existence, have the imagination to do so, but we have to realize that there might be something impeding our imagination and what could be. So we want to find what is possible and look for the truth, not just what we want to be, but also understand what we want to be so we can work towards that, but also understand what we have in the moment of what has manifested through all the interacting bubbles of reality that we're agreeing to, and all those chess moves. So once we get into the equation with that, we can start bringing that in and being that with everything that we do. And if it's in alignment with Earth, alignment with Source, and you're resolving tremendous amounts of things and coming into unity with the rest of the planet, the universe gets behind you to do it. So
that's beautiful. And a real simple addition on my end is that humans can still retain their innocence, but it's time to drop their naivete. Right? All right, Sean, so before we close, thank you so much. It's incredible to talk to an amazing, unique, multidimensional being like you. And even those that cannot understand, perhaps, or feel overwhelmed, will keep this, and at some point, as they awaken and awaken and awaken, they're going to be listening to this going, okay. So, do you want to share with your Facebook and any information where people can contact you?
Okay, yes. My assistant, you can contact her for scheduling appointments and clearings, operatings, FaceTime, also do. Her email is mokorn@hotmail.com. And you can also reach me at, sometimes my email is flying around, but I don't usually access it. You can contact me on my Facebook, Sean Bond, and my YouTube is Silver Cord Spiritual Science. My website is Silver Cord SS. Has lots of videos up there for free you can access, and testimonials and all the different stuff that we're adding on to slowly. And
Okay.
Sean Bond Facebook and
Okay, so do you want to get your email or no? Not.
I got fire.
Whoa.
My candle. Yeah, fine. Sage.
FN? What's that one?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't really contact it as much, but like my older videos I mentioned it, so it'll be out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Sean, for your time and everything, and onward and upward. Okay.